Thanks everybody for being here today. I'm happy to welcome everybody to our State Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. So thanks everybody that's here in person and in attendance, and they are in virtual reality. Thank you for being here. Um, the chat is open for you to enter your name and your organization if you're on the chat. So please do so if you want to. And today, I guess I'll go over the agenda. We're gonna do roll call. We're gonna start with roll call. First, we'll do that with our members. Then we jump into some action items. Approve the March 2025 minutes from our meeting. We have some chair updates if we do, and I do want to mention that our co-chair Christian Franco, is not with us today. He had some family matters to attend, so please excuse Franco. But we will have Mr. Tyreek Chip, who is one of our committee members, who's gonna be a substitute for Mr. Christian Franco. So I hope everybody's okay with that. So he'll be leading Franco's responsibilities for the day today. Then after we do the chair updates, we're gonna go over our Title III three-year plan. This is something that Honorable Judge Lucero is gonna go over. Crystal is not with us today, so thank you, Judge Lucero, for taking this part. Then after that, we'll go over compliance monitor updates on OYCR's compliance monitor team. Then we're going to go into some legislative updates, hear from LaRon Dennis with some OYCR, who will run down legislative updates and things that are related to our work, committee's work. We'll go over some state grants managed by OYCR. The data and research team is going to basically share some information about the grants that the agency manages. This is a follow from our discussion at the last meeting about the grant funding for programs, and this presentation is designed to provide additional details about the full universe of state managed grants for youth justice programs and services in counties. Then we're going to break. We'll take a break. We'll have recommendations about purchasing food, drinks during this time. At any time during the meeting, please feel free to welcome to use the restroom or get some snacks. And there's some coffee side right here. Thanks to OYCR for bringing those things. And after a break, we'll come back with some ombudsman's updates. We'll hear from the ombudsman's office about their new data that they have to share regarding their recent visits at facilities across the state, as well as data on compliance investigations. From there, we'll jump into some subcommittee updates. I know that there has been a lot of people meeting between now and the last meeting around their subcommittee, so we'll hear from everybody and where they're at on that. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. Then we'll open it for public comment, for anybody that wants to provide public comment virtually or in person. And then we'll end it with some announcements and adjourn. And yes, and that's what we'll do. That is the agenda for today. Before we begin and move through these items and take a roll, I wanted to make a note about the attendance. We are in the bylaws for this committee to review in an upcoming meeting, which will include expectations about attendance that help ensure we can continue to move the work of this committee forward. We will ask the committee to adopt a policy that limits the number of meetings members can miss. And also, I will briefly run it over to Tara Lane, who will provide instructions for members on how to participate virtually. And then from there, Mr. Tyreek Chip is going to do roll call. So I'll pass it to Tara.
Thank you, Chair Mendoza. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'll give brief instructions for the meeting. Member participation is welcome throughout the session. There will be opportunities at designated moments for public comment. During the public comment periods, participants will have 2 minutes for their comments. Members of the committee and members of the public may also post comments to the Zoom chat throughout the meeting. We'll record these comments and prompt for acknowledgement during the designated periods. In order to participate, if you're on Zoom, please mute yourself for the duration of the meeting. And during public comment, if you want to make a comment, use the raised hand feature in Zoom. When called upon, please unmute yourself and turn your camera on if it's not on. We will lower your hand once your name is received. If you're on the phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. We'll call your number. When asked to unmute, you can dial *6. We'll lower your hand once your name is received. When called upon to speak, please eliminate background noise before unmuting your phone. If you are on site in the meeting room and you're both in the meeting room and connected on Zoom, please remember to keep both your microphone and your speaker muted for the duration of the meeting. If you wish to make comments during the public period of the meeting, you may raise your physical hand to be called upon to make comments. If we miss your question or you have additional comments, please send an email to sacjjdp@chhs.ca.gov with your name and question or comment. We'll put this email in the chat. That concludes the instructions. I'll turn to Tyreek Ship to take roll of committee members.
All right, I'll start by taking roll of committee members. Supervisor Joe Baca Jr.,
Joe Baca Jr. is present.
Honorable Brian Beck, Isaiah Barber, Carol Biondi, Dr. BJ Davis,
Present.
Dr. Carly Dirkheisen, Michael Duncan, Christian Franco, Michelle Guyman,
Present.
Susan Sands, Monte Magic McKay, Kent Mendoza, Dr. T. Coy Porter Sr.,
Present.
and Tyreek Ship, present. Dr. Mimi Silbert, and Dante Williams. If 9 members are present, say roll call is complete, and we have a quorum. Oh, I read that wrong. We don't, yeah, we don't have a quorum.
Who was that? Oh, she's here? Who is that again? Can you call her again?
Carol Biondi,
Oh, you're muted, but she's here, so we're still not a quorum though.
Sorry, I didn't even see it. Yes, I'm here.
So we need one more to be in quorum.
Mhm.
So in the meantime, we cannot make any voting decisions. We can only have discussions because we have quorum. So if we happen to get a member to join us from 9 to then that will make quorum and we could take on the voting items. But for now, we'll just continue the meeting and just do what we can, but we won't vote on any items at the moment. So we cannot even vote on the minutes, I believe so, right? So we cannot vote on anything because we do not have quorum. So we have 8 people in attendance, 3 in person and the rest are in virtual reality. So is that cool, everybody? So Tariq? Okay, so I guess
Chair, if I
yes.
may, this is Supervisor Baca.
Yes. Go ahead.
I know that we can't do the action item or we can't take action on the 3-year plan, but could we at least begin the presentations for the compliance monitoring?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you. So I guess we'll adjust our agenda and we could just jump into our next item will be we gotta skip the approve the minutes from March, so we go to chair updates. I don't have no updates, just the update that Frank is not here. Frank was not here today, but I could move on to the next plan. So maybe I'll pass it to Catherine Just Lucero to. I mean, we're not gonna vote on it, but we still want to go over that presentation, or what would be best appropriate?
We should not
Okay.
put it out.
Mhm.
And if we get another member, I will then step in.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so that'll be number 1 priority when someone comes in. So I guess we could go into let's go right into compliance monitor updates, and I'll pass it to Robbie Johnson and Robin Ward for their presentations on compliance monitor updates.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to begin our presentation with noting that our compliance monitoring unit consists of 3 analysts. There's myself, Robbie Johnson. I cover the southern region. Robin Word handles the northern region. We're currently interviewing to bring on a new analyst to handle the central region. And we have Gary Wyan, who is our annuitant. He works part-time and floats throughout all the regions for California. Our job in a nutshell is to conduct on-site compliance monitoring inspections of facilities. We employ various methods to update the compliance monitoring universe, including annual surveys, communication with facility level and agency level staff, and on-site inspections. At the top of the year, we send out annual surveys to each facility, asking them to provide information about the minors in detention at that facility. Each facility is also required to send monthly reports to our department regarding minors in detention at the facility. From there, we update our compliance monitoring universe, and from there, we conduct our on-site inspections. The compliance monitoring universe is our database. I will now pass it on to Robin to give additional information regarding inspections.
Thank you, Robbie. I'll be going over the compliance monitoring inspection process. During the in-person site inspection, the compliance monitors are there to ensure that there's adequate sight and sound separation between the adults and the minors. To do this, the monitors conduct a walkthrough of the facilities to assess the layout. We're specifically identifying the secure and the non-secured areas and to confirm there's sufficient space to maintain proper separation. In cases where an adult is confined at the same time as a minor, we're going to interview the staff to understand the procedures that they have in place, again, to ensure that there is proper separation. Prior to going in person to do the site inspection, we're reviewing the facility's submitted monthly reports and their annual surveys. While on site, we're looking at their logs to verify that that information aligns with what they submitted to us. One of the key areas that we're looking for as well is to ensure that the minors are not held over 6 hours. Now, this can occur if the facility is waiting on a social worker or a parent to pick up the minor. This is typically self-reported to us in their monthly submissions as well. After the inspection process is complete, we compile all of our findings in a report that's submitted over to the agency head. The report includes any identified violations, as well as any technical assistance that we provided while on site, and any recommendations that we may have. If there's no questions for me, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Robbie.
Thank you, Robin. Just to give a little bit more detail about inspections. So our compliance monitoring universe is our internal tracking system. We monitor over 900 facilities. The type of facilities that we monitor include adult lockup, court holdings, adult jail, juvenile correctional, and juvenile detentions. Facilities are inspected during a 3-year cycle, and we're currently on the last year of a 3-year cycle. Sorry about that. The federal fiscal year, it goes from October 1st through September 30th. And so right now we're on the 3rd year of the cycle, and that cycle ends September 30th of this year. And then we'll begin a new cycle. In a year, we probably will cover or inspect about 300 facilities. That breaks down to about 25 facilities per analyst, with Gary traveling throughout California to handle all inspections as well. That pretty much concludes our update.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any additional questions or comments for Robbie and Robin from the committee members? Oh, go ahead, Beyond the Honesty. I can see. So go ahead and mute yourself in.
Yes, you mentioned juvenile detention and juvenile corrections. What's the difference?
Were you able to hear the question from Carol?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, you mentioned two things. You mentioned juvenile detention and you mentioned juvenile corrections. What's the difference?
Really, there is no difference. I think that may be a typo on the slide. There is no difference.
I think
I didn't
that-
see a slide. I didn't get a slide on this.
I would say juvenile correction might mean like SYTF, TJJ, and I would say juvenile detention might be juvenile house, and like being in detention centers, like a juvenile facility. And I would say Correctional might be like, that would have been DJJ, right? That's a
Yeah, that
correctional
would have been
facility.
DJJ, except there isn't one now.
Well, now it's a secure youth treatment
Well, could we
facility, so
get a
now it would be
clarific-
SYTFs.
Okay. And what is, I mean, maybe the numbers would tell us, but if it, just like to know what categories and why the distinction and what's the difference?
I think the difference is that now we have, obviously, we don't have no more correctional facilities for juveniles because they are closed down, right? DJJ.
Yes.
But that has been replaced by secure youth treatment facilities, SYTF. So that will be the new correctional. That's the difference. Detention. So juvenile corrections are juveniles that would have gone to all
Okay,
DJJ, but
it's a
no longer
new,
DJJs.
it's a new,
I don't think it's a new. It's just like it's
well, I
the
think
same
it's a
term that has
new
been used.
category. And
It's not really. You wanna? Yeah. It's not a new.
I'll add a little bit too, Carol. So usually detention is thought of as pre-adjudication. And then correctional facilities are usually thought as post-dispo or post-disposition. Obviously for a secure track, some of them are in there also pre-adjudication because they're just a longer timeline and whatnot. But that's typically how people refer to the different types of facilities across the nation.
okay.
So it's like
Thanks.
halls versus camps is the easiest way to
Yeah,
think about it.
no, I used to
Thank you.
see halls and camps. We didn't see juvenile correction and juvenile detention. That's why I was a little confused.
Yeah, yeah. But
Maybe
that
the
make
way
does
that
that make sense?
BSC
Is that clear?
I'm sorry if I can add, it may be the way that BSCC defined it. We're taking over from BSCC and we're just picking up where they left off. So they have juvenile correctional as youth treatment facilities or camp programs, and juvenile detentions would be like juvenile detention halls, Humboldt regional facilities. That would be the distinction.
I'm just it's new. I mean, they used to talk about halls and camps and ranches. And now I guess it's all in correctional.
Yeah, I think this applies to the state, not just LA County.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Anybody has more questions or comments for the presentation on the compliance monitor team? Thank you, Carol, for that question and clarification. If not, I believe we could move to the next item, right? We still don't have quorum, right? I don't know if anybody jumped on. No? Okay. I believe someone said they're gonna jump on soon. I think was it Magic or Isaiah? Isaiah. So hopefully he jumps on soon. So thanks again to the compliance monitor team. Thank you, Robbie and Robin. And yeah, so let's go into the next agenda item. And I think we're gonna go to some legislative updates, and I'm gonna pass it to LaRon Dennis. Hope I'm saying it right, LaRon Dennis. I don't know if that's how you say it, but I'll pass it to you with some legislative updates.
Okay, yes, that is how you say it. Thank you. Hi, I'm LaRon Dennis. I'm a special consultant here at OICR, and I'm going to do our legislative update. So since we're currently in the midst of the legislative season, I'm going to update you today on the status of several bills that were presented at the March SACJ meeting. So to help frame my update, I'm going to start with a high-level overview of how a bill becomes a law in California, followed by a review of the key dates on the legislative calendar between now and our next quarterly meeting in September. And then after that background, I will provide you several updates on some of the legislation that we're tracking. So the legislative process begins every February when all bills that are going to be considered for the legislative session are introduced in their respective houses of origin. From there, the policy committees in each house will hold public hearings, receive testimony, and vote on those bills. If a bill passes out of committee, it may proceed directly to the floor for a vote in the House of Origin, or if it has fiscal implications, it will be referred to the Appropriations Committee. Once a bill passes through the House of Origin, it will repeat this same process in the second house. If both houses pass the bill, it is then sent to the governor, who can either sign it into law or veto it. So the legislative calendar, at this point in a session, all the active bills have been passed through their initial policy committee in their House of Origin. So July 18th is the final deadline for bills to be heard in policy committees of the second house. At the conclusion of the hearings on July 18th, summer recess begins. Then on August 18th, the legislature will reconvene. The deadline for fiscal committees to hear bills is August 29th, and the last day to amend bills is September 5th. On September 12th, that is the last day for each house to pass bills. And the last day for the governor to then sign any bills or veto any bills that he receives is October 12th. In our September SACJ meeting, we will provide you an update on any of the bill outcomes at that point. So to update you from March, some of the legislation that we've been following, AB 802 was the Juvenile Justice Commission Hunger Survey Bill by Assemblymember Sharp Collins. And that bill has been held in fiscal committee and is not advancing. The bill would have required that a Juvenile Justice Commission conduct a survey every 2 years to assess hunger levels and food access for youth in juvenile facilities. And if the survey showed that youth were often or chronically hungry, the commission then would have made recommended changes to the county's food policies. AB 946 was a chief probation officer designee bill, which died in committee. That bill would have authorized a county with a population of over 3.5 million to designate the responsibilities of the chief probation officer to another county official. AB 1279 was a criminal procedure sentencing bill, and it was ordered to the inactive file by the author and is not proceeding. It would have prevented using prior juvenile adjudications as serious or violent felony prior convictions for the purposes of California's 3 strikes law. It also would have provided a way to vacate any prior juvenile adjudications that were previously used for an enhancement and allow for resentencing. One bill that is moving forward is AB 1376. It is a bill that deals with wards on probation, and it's currently set in the Senate Public Safety Committee for a hearing on June 24th. That bill, if passed, will limit the amount of time that a court can place a youth on probation to 9 months, except that the court could potentially extend probation in 6-month increments if the court makes a finding on the record that it is in the best interest of the youth and the public. As a side note, this bill excludes SYTF youth from that 9-month probation limitation. SB 357 is another juvenile delinquency bill, and it is set for hearing on July 1st in the Assembly Public Safety Committee. This bill would authorize a board of supervisors of a county with a population of at least 6 million. So at this point, this only applies to Los Angeles County, to delegate to another county official who has jurisdiction over youth development part of the duties and authorities concerning minors or concerning the oversight of a juvenile detention facility. And those duties could be delegated then from the chief probation officer to this other county official. Another bill that failed to proceed is SB 552. It was a juvenile wards case plan bill, and it was held in committee. That bill would have required a case plan be developed in every case where the probation officer recommended wardship and either didn't recommend removal of the minor from their parent or guardian, or recommended commitment to a juvenile home, ranch, camp, or juvenile hall. Another bill that didn't proceed was SB 821. That was a criminal procedure and arraignment bill. It was also held in the fiscal committee. It would have made changes to ensure that judicial review occurred within 48 hours of a juvenile's arrest and would have established procedures for determining probable cause. SB 824 also was held in fiscal committee. It was an SYTF bill that dealt with individual rehabilitation plans. It would have required those plans include a clear strategy for helping wards transition to a less restrictive program, At each review hearing, it would have required that the court evaluate the ward's progress towards movement into an LRP, and it gave the court authority to adjust any previous court orders that would support that progress. If the court were to have found that a transfer to an LRP would better meet the youth's rehabilitative goals, the court would then have been required to order the minor moved to an LRP. We have one additional bill that we're watching now that wasn't included in the March presentation, and that's SB 498. It is a detention facility and commissary bill. It has been referred to the Assembly Public Safety, but does not yet have a date. And this bill would mandate that indigent youth who are confined in a juvenile facility must be provided with basic hygiene products free of charge, and would ensure that those individuals have a guarantee to access hygiene products upon their request. So that's my update. If anybody has any questions. Yes.
Thank you. Is there any hands raised on? Yeah, I can
there
see.
is.
So go ahead, Carol.
I didn't hear whether 946 was proceeding or not.
It died.
It did die. And what was the difference in the two 946 and 357?
I think, well, because 946 didn't get very far, it kind of was introduced and then it didn't really go anywhere. The bill by Senator Menjivar would have accomplished the same thing,
Yeah.
but it has now it's moved forward. It's made it out of the Senate. It is now in Assembly.
Oh, okay.
And it raised the population threshold from 3.5 million to 6 million.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And I see another. Go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, could you go back 2 slides or 1 slide? One more. So on AB 1279, could you explain that again? And also, is there a way to find out why it did not proceed? What was the reason why I mean, if they took the time to write it, I mean, I'm just interested in anything that related to 3 strikes.
Right. We don't know why that it didn't proceed. Assemblymember Sharp Collins on her own asked that it be sent to the inactive file. So I'm not really sure why, but yes, it would have basically not permitted courts to use juvenile adjudications to enhance adult sentences under the 3 strikes law, and it would have allowed those folks who've had them their sentences enhanced already to come back and ask that the court vacate that finding.
Well, that seems important to me. So how would I find out more about that? Or, maybe I could talk to the author. I mean, so what they're saying, I didn't realize this so what they're saying, so if we get a youth that's, 14 or 15 and they're convicted of a violent act, and now they're 24, 25, and they get in trouble for something else. So what they can do now is they can go back and take that conviction at 14 or 15 that was violent and use it as part of a 3-strike sentencing. That's basically what?
Current state of the law, yes.
Wow, okay. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And then the other one the one you were just talking about the hygiene one. So right now, indigent youth, they don't get hygiene products if they're detained.
I honestly can't imagine that that's the case, but there may be places where they either certain kinds of hygiene products, because the bill refers to the commissary, they may have to purchase or use things that they've earned to get certain types of hygiene. But
so they wouldn't just get things like, I don't know, toothpaste, toothbrush, hygiene things, soap, shampoo, or I'm just wondering about that. That seems it seems ridiculous to have a bill to give a kid hygiene products if they're detained. It seems like that would just be basic needs. I'm just confused. Ron, when you read that out, I was like, really? We need a bill for this?
I'm wondering if,
All.
I'm wondering if
hygiene
we want,
products.
I wonder if we want Elisa or Ahmed, who are on from the ombuds, to see if they can clarify that question.
I'd appreciate it.
Is she on?
Ahmed or Elisa, can you answer that question for the
Yes.
member?
Hi. Yes, thank you for the question. So Title 15 does require that youth be provided personal care items, including, it's the Title 15 Section 1485. They are required, so every youth held over 24 hours must be provided toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, comb, shaving implements, deodorant, lotion, shampoo, and post-shower conditioning hair products. That they are provided hygiene products. I confess I haven't read the bill, so I'm not sure how it's modifying what Title 15 is requiring, or if it's just codifying that into law. But they are, like, youth are, they must be provided those products currently. They, not necessarily the products of their choosing, right? It's a lot of Bob Barker products, and kind of basic, often like 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, that kind of thing. Or even 3-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, and soap. But they are being provided products and are required to do so.
So this was really about something above and beyond that. The bill we were just describing.
Interestingly, the bill itself doesn't specify anything other than the things that Elisa just named. It talks about soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, menstrual products, deodorant, lotion. It doesn't name any particular thing. But I do know that there's also a reference to the kids, well, sometimes they're in juvenile facilities, they have a trust account or some sort of a little fund. And this would prevent that fund from being used to pay for any of those items. But it doesn't look to me that the bill adds anything beyond what Elisa just cited.
And often the commissary, they use, the juvenile facilities will have the commissary be through incentive programs. So it's not like somebody putting money into their account, it's them earning points. And they can use those points for better hygiene products. So kind of brand name or more specialized products. But that's a discretionary thing on the part of the facility.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say too, I think that this is probably applies differently to every county, because I know like in LA County, like there's like the juvenile detention facilities, they don't have commissary where you could buy these types of things like deodorant and none of this stuff. But if you go like to a camp or they might have that. So I think it just depends with the county and the facility and how the probation department functions and does that. Because for my own personal experience, I know that they do provide those things, but sometimes maybe it's just like the bill is probably trying to intend to provide some more quality stuff than the thing that they give you. I don't know. I haven't read the bill, so I'm just assuming that's what it is. It's kind of like making it more solidified for young people to have some good stuff. But I seen another hand up. Wait, am I tripping? Supervisor.
Supervisor Baca. No, I agree with you, Chair. I just think the bill was intended to get things above and beyond, and maybe have it across the board so all the counties are doing it. Like indigent people, they're probably fostering the people that don't have parents that can't send them any money. So I'm assuming to let them buy hygiene products beyond the basic what they're provided. So that's just my guess. I'm just trying to read in the bill. I used to be a correctional officer and probation officer, so that's what I'm guessing.
Yep. Thank you, Supervisor. And I see another hand up. Go ahead. You go unmute and.
Yeah, Dr. Porter.
Sorry about it.
No problem. Just wanted to clarify that so out of the 9 bills that we're looking at, 3 are still in process of are in the process of being passed or in the whole review process itself.
they're still moving along.
Yeah, moving along. Yeah. So it's 1376, AB 1376, SB 357, and then the new one, SB 498.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. Does anybody have more questions on this updates on the bills that we just discussed, or any comments? If not, I don't see no hands up. So thank you for Leron Dennis for the presentation. I appreciate the updates, and we'll continue to keep checking these bills. I know I'm working on one of those bills, so yeah. So now I do know that we have quorum. I believe someone joined our meeting. Yes, right? So maybe I'll just have the person who joined identify themselves and just another roll call. So I think it's Isaiah, right? Is that who jumped on? I don't know if you could hear us, Isaiah. I just wanted to make a quick roll call. Are you in attendance? If you're speaking, you might be on mute still.
It's not letting him unmute.
Oh, let me
Can the
unmute him.
can the host unmute him, or maybe he needs to sign back on?
Give us a second, Isaiah. Let's see how we figure this out right now.
Okay, apparently he's not muted by
You have to
us.
unmute yourself, Isaiah. If you could hear me. So yeah. So what I said, we'll be making quorum, and I think once we get him to verbally say that he's present and we can note it on record, we'll go back in the agenda and quickly go over the minutes. If y'all don't mind, just go over the approving the minutes, and then from there we jump into one of the most important topics of the day, which is the 3-year plan that Honorable Judge Lucero can go over. But let's just figure this technical difficulties. He's back on, so hopefully it works now. So Isaiah, can you unmute yourself and see if now it works?
Does this give us a quorum? Does this give us a quorum?
Yes. I'm just trying to make sure it's on record that we have all members that make quorum saying that they're here and that it's noted. Yeah, Isaiah, if you could, I don't know, you're still on mute, but I don't know if there's a calling option or what's the best options. Yeah.
Okay, hello?
Hello? Yes, we can hear you now, Isaiah.
Yes. Yeah, it took me a minute. Member Barber present?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Isaiah. I appreciate it. So we officially have quorum. Thank you for joining us, Isaiah. Really appreciate your participation. So now that we have quorum, now we can vote on the items that we were not able to vote earlier. So if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna go back to our minutes. So we could approve those minutes. And let me see, where's my
Supervisor Baca makes a motion to approve the minutes.
anybody wants to second the motion by Mr. Baca?
Dr. Davis seconds it.
Dr. Davis seconds in. So I guess, do we want to just roll call? Or do we just say everybody in support, nobody in opposition? Everybody's in support? Raise your hand on the screen on the virtual reality, or I here. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think motion to approve our minutes for the March meeting has been approved. Thank you all again. Now I'm gonna pass it on to Honorable Catherine Judge Lucero to go over the 3-year plan, so we can go over it, and then if you have any questions, and then overall, let's make a vote on it. So pass it to you.
Thank you. And I am stepping in today for Crystal Lewis, who would ordinarily be taking part in the meeting on behalf of our office, but she is not available today. So so I'm going to provide a very high level overview of the 2025 updates to the Title II 3-year plan as a starting place for your discussion and approval today. This plan, which was included in your meeting materials provided to you last week, is a continuation of the previous 2024 plan approved by this committee On December 12th, 2024, and accepted by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, OJJDP, on March 31st, 2025, as a funding condition for the FY fiscal year 2024 award. Some of the key elements of the plan that we shared in December 2024, when the committee reviewed and approved the previous version, are here. The integration of the, and I'll go over a few of those. It integrates existing 2022-2025 Title II grantees and OYCR initiatives. It satisfies 33 statutory state plan requirements. OYCR is the agency that is currently designated to prepare and administer California's comprehensive 3-year juvenile justice and delinquency prevention plan. This committee provides a policy direction and participates in the preparation and administration of your 3-year plan. The process assures our commitment to achieve and maintain compliance with the 4 core requirements of the JJDPA, which involves jail removal, separation, racial and ethnic disparities, and separation of sight and sound. OYCR continues to fund the following program purpose areas among 12 grantees, and you can see them here on the slide. Aftercare and reentry, 4 grantees. Alternatives to detention and placement, 2 grantees. Community-based programs and services, 4 grantees. Diversion, 3 grantees, including tribal grantee. Job training, 5 grantees. Mentoring, counseling, and training programs, 6 grantees. There are up to 22 program purpose areas allowed to be funded under Title II, and we wanted to begin our work with you and allow you to gather information about the current set of grantees. At a future meeting, we will talk more about future grants, where this committee can also begin defining new areas for funding. The 2025 plan also incorporates initiatives that OYCR funds within and beyond Title II that align with additional federal requirements. Some of the initiatives that align with those requirements include gender-specific services, alternatives to detention, reducing the number of children housed in secure detention, things like the mass design, the therapeutic facility design approaches, strategies to engage family members, community-based services and the promotion of community-based capacity building, and the elimination of restraints. The 2025 plan updated has been reviewed by Chair Mendoza and your co-chair, Christian Franco, and incorporates some of their suggestions, which include the following: that the SACJJDP reestablish governor-appointed members, November 2024, that occurred, and that the first OYCR convening with the elected chairs was decided upon by them December 2024. All references of juveniles were changed to youth, and the 2024 reference data points were updated to 2025 as available at their request. Also, the continuation of strategic planning from 2024 to 26, 3-year plan with review and input from the chairs, the co-chair did occur. An important overall theme of this plan, which also serves as our application for federal JJDPA funding, is to set the stage for California to answer the call for youth justice with multiple programs funded through federal and state dollars across the board. There is a common goal of keeping youth within the system whenever appropriate and supporting their reintegration into community in a safe and effective way. I did want to mention before I ask for a motion to approve the plan, or and then of course we would have discussion, generally a motion, a second, and discussion, that there has been a delay in some of the invoice payments because of the current environment. But we are diligently working with our federal partners to resolve that. and are cautiously optimistic at this point. But I did want to inform the board that there is some pretty serious backstage interruption, and we are sincerely apologetic and doing everything that we can to right the ship. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Does anybody, I want to open it for comments, questions from the members, and I'll start with Dr. Carter.
As much as you can elaborate on some of that, the funding challenges, I can relate to those as well. And being in higher education, can you maybe just kind of, is it like a full freeze, or is it more of like a threatening to withdraw?
Neither of those. It's more of a change in some of the changing from BSCC to us, making sure that all of those contracts are consistent and now identified as when they began, so that they can be paid with the monies that have been allocated for the period of time that they were allocated to be paid for. So it's really it's not a freeze. It's not a threat. It's really because of all the changes combined with the changes in Washington that there's been a slowdown.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes sense with the transition here, and then obviously at the federal level as well. I just one more question, and this might be slightly unrelated, but I'm just curious if there has been the Coalition for Juvenile Justice has brought up the fact that racial red is a part of our requirements. And this might be a bigger issue to talk about, but has there been any, like based on the executive orders, any kind of need to change any language at this point?
So you will have a presentation from Marcia Rincon Gallardo, who's handling the RED committee and is our chief equity policy lead here at OYCR. And I believe she will address that, as she has been at some of the federal meetings, and she can probably be when that happens. Is that okay if we hold that for a minute?
Yep, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
You. Does any other member have questions, concerns, or discussions for this item before we jump into public comment? I don't see the screen, so I can't see people raising their hands. So if there's nobody, so I guess before we jump into someone to motion to approve this, I think I want to open it for public comment. I think that's the next step, right? So is there anybody on the virtual reality world there raising their hand for public comment, or anybody in the audience that would like to provide public comment? If so, please let us know, and for this particular item. I don't know if there's anybody on the screen. Do you want to do a public comment? So let's give you a mic right there. And I don't know, are we timing this, or we could let's give you like 2 minutes? Is that good? It's fine. I don't have a timer, but I'm assuming someone's timing us. But just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I have a particular interest in this whole process that's going on. I have a question about the passing of number one, the legislation that was discussed earlier, and if in fact there is a way to get those types of legislation to the local JJDPCs, because we have some responsibility to do the inspections and monitoring compliance at the local level. But that information is not necessarily shared at the local level. And right now, I know in California, there's a coalition of JDPCs that are currently being implemented, particularly by San Mateo County. And there's a lot of confusion in terms of how we fit in to the state advisory committee and what the relationship is between the state advisory committee and local JJDPCs. We have a very vibrant commission in Sacramento County, but nobody knows what's up. I understand the transition that's taking place between BS and CC. I'm a 30-year vet of the California Youth Authority. I've been around since 1971. And I see what's going on, and I'm seeing a lot of confusion going on by both the locals and the state. So that's my question.
Thank you. All right. What's your name, sir, again?
My name is Dennis Dulay.
Thank you. And I think we could definitely have probably OICR staff follow up on those things, sharing information for the local level. So I really appreciate you for being here today. And I think that this is what we want to see, more people like this that can be here, because it is important that you are connected, because there's a lot of information that we're doing here that is relevant to the stuff that you're doing at the locally. So this item is specifically for the Title III. So I think maybe I could ask OICR, maybe we could follow with the gentleman right here after this and just figure out how to keep him informed and looped in on all of this. And maybe this is a way for you to be engaged in this space moving forward, if that's something that you're able to do. But pass it to OICR staff. Yes.
Chair Mendoza and gentleman, Dennis, what is your last name? Dulay. Nice to meet you. My name is Marcia Rincon Gallardo. I'm the Chief of Systems Change and Equity here at OICR. And one of the projects that lives within our division is to do an assessment of all the needs that commissions have, commissioners. There's 58 counties. Each of the counties has, whether it's a JJC, a JJCC, or a JDPC, and each one of them might have different needs for training. And we will doing assessment to find out from the various commissions and commissioners what kinds of training they would like to have. Also assess what kind of training they were having, so that we either build on what was already being done or start from scratch. So that particular project is on my shelf to work on currently. And we can, in this space, we can give an update in the next meeting, quarterly meeting, so that you are aware of how we will be moving forward to assure that each one of the JJCs or commissions gets the training that they need. Everything like bylaws, roles, the data, how to read data, whatever needs that you have in order to fulfill your role is what we want to be able to support you with. So even your input to us or to me would be very helpful. So I can give you my card, and if you want to connect with me so that we can already start collecting the data of what the needs are so that we can address that.
Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is there any other public comment for this particular item? And if not, is there anybody that wants to motion to approve this 3-year plan?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the 3-year plan.
So we have Tyreek motion for the 3-year plan. Anybody want a second?
I'll second that motion.
And Dr. Carly is gonna second that motion. Yeah, I guess everybody in favor?
Wait, no, we gotta call it.
Oh yeah, my bad. Roll call. I'll pass it back to you, Terry. I'm sorry.
Yes, so when your name is called, say aye if you approve, nay if you disapprove, or abstain if you are abstaining from the vote. And this is specifically on the 3-year plan. So I'll start the roll call. Supervisor Joe Baca Jr.
Supervisor Baca, aye.
Honorable Brian Beck. Isaiah Barber.
Aye.
Carol Biondi.
Aye.
Dr. BJ Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Carly Dirkheisen. Michael Duncan. Christian Franco.
Absent.
Michelle Guyman.
Aye.
Susan Sands. Monte Magic McKay. Kent Mendoza. Dr. T. Coy Porter Sr.
Aye.
Tyreek Ship. Aye. Dr. Mimi Silbert. And Dante Williams. All right, pass it back to you, Chair Mendoza.
Yeah, and I think it's been passed, right? I didn't count the votes, my bad. Yes? Oh. Yes, okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. So the motion passes to approve the 3-year plan. So thanks, everybody. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
One quick interjection. If any member is participating remotely today, we just need you to briefly disclose whether anyone over the age of 18 is in the same room with you, and if so, the relationship with the member. So we'll just take a brief pause. Any members joining remotely, please just indicate aloud if anyone is in the room with you over 18 and the relationship to the member.
Supervisor Bacchus here. I have Leanne Uribe, who's over the age of 18, and she's, field representative for my office.
Member Baca, anyone else?
What's the point of that? I don't remember this from before.
Bagley-Keenack requirement.
Really?
Pass it back to you, Chair Mendoza.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And let's go into an item, last item before we go on a break. This is gonna be a state grants managed by OICR. I'm gonna pass it to Crystal and Christian, who are gonna talk about some of these grants managed by OICR and do a presentation on that. And after that, we'll do a quick break. So pass it to ya.
All right, I'm going to try not to yell into this. Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share this overview of the grants. My name is Christian Lucchese. I'm a data research specialist for the office, and I specialize in managing the Juvenile Justice Realignment Block Grant that you'll see spelled out. All of these will be spelled out at least once, but it is the JJRBG and the JJCPA YOBG, which is the Juvenile Justice Prevention or Crime Prevention Act, and Youthful Offender Block Grant. And I will pass it over.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Engelhardt. I'm also a research specialist at OICR, and I will be providing an overview of JRG. We are here on behalf of OICR and the Data and Research Division to provide a high-level overview of 3 major funding streams OICR manages, what counties report back to us, and how this information forms the groundwork for evaluating what works, increasing transparency, and improving youth outcomes across California. OICR currently administers 3 key funding streams that collectively cover different points along the youth justice continuum. These are the Juvenile Justice Crime Prevention Act and Youthful Offender Block Grant, or JJCPA YOBG. The Juvenile Justice Realignment Block Grant, or JJRBG, and the Juvenile Reentry Grant, JRG. Each of these funding streams is grounded in statute and has a distinct purpose depending on where a young person is in their justice involvement. In this presentation, we'll walk through the goals of the grant and information counties are required to report, and how that information will ultimately support a more evaluative and transparent statewide youth justice system.
Gotcha. 1 second. So yeah, okay, we are okay. So let's go next. One more. All right, so I'm going to start off with the JJCPA and YLBG, two long-standing funding streams that support front-end services. The JJCPA was established by the Crime Prevention Act in 2000, and the YLBG was created in 2007 under the Senate Bill 81. Together, these funding streams support prevention, early intervention, and detention alternatives. For funding, there's a baseline funding stream for these, but they're also impacted by revenue, and so they increase over year based on the general fund. So JJCPA funding for fiscal year 23-24 was $107.1 million, and YOBG funding was $235.1 million. The intent behind JJCPA YOBG is to reduce youth crime and incarceration by investing in locally designed, community-based responses to promote positive youth development. Counties use these funds for services such as school-based diversion, mentoring, family counseling, and behavioral health programming. The goal is to support early developmentally appropriate interventions that reduce system penetration and improve outcomes. The JJRBG, Juvenile Justice Realignment Block Grant, was created under Senate 823, which created OICR following the closure of DJJ, the Division of Juvenile Justice. The legislation shifted responsibility for youth who would have otherwise been committed to DJJ counties, aiming to improve outcomes through locally delivered care and supervision. The most recent fiscal year for 24-25 funded $211.7 million, which will be consistent across the years, but still impacted very minimally by certain general funding. For the spirit of it, JJRBG supports counties in delivering secure custody, supervision, and rehabilitative services for realigned youth. Funding may be used for trauma-informed care, individualized case planning, education, reentry services that include anywhere from employment, education, and housing to programming that retains youth within the youth justice system rather than transferring them to the adult system, and also trying to focus on keeping them closer to their families and communities.
The Juvenile Reentry Grant, or JRG, was originally established in AB 1628 of 2010, some provisions of which were amended by Trailer Bill AB 169, Chapter 50, Statutes of 2024. The goal of this grant is to reimburse county probation departments for the costs associated with housing youth in the county's care, including the costs of supervision, programming, education, and incarceration following release from an SYTF or an LRP. The Trailer Bill AB 169 replaced references to DJJ with SYTF and effective July 1st, 2024, transferred all juvenile justice grant related responsibilities from the Board of State and Community Corrections to the Office of Youth and Community Restoration. Funding for fiscal year 2023-2024 totaled $13.7 million.
So now that you have the background on these grants, we'll move forward to a little bit about what OICR collects. As the administrator of these funding streams, OICR collects a variety of required reports from counties. These submissions are not just administrative requirements, they are essential tools for understanding how funding is being used, identifying promising practices, and building a more responsive and effective youth justice system across the state. So walking through what each funding stream requires, you'll see JJCPA first, is that has three different sorts of reporting requirements. The two main types of reports are an annual plan, which outlines the county's local priorities, programs, and strategies for prevention and early intervention. So that's their main document that's just kind of going over all their programs, as well as what they're planning to fund. And there's only a data and expenditure report submitted each year in October. So the expenditures and data are within one submission. This report details how the funding was spent and includes basic outcome data, such as the number of youths served and the types of services provided. Together, these documents give a picture of the county's overall strategy and how it's being implemented. Moving to JJRBG, which supports youth who would have been serviced held at DJJ. This grant, counties must submit an annual plan on May 1st that details how they're serving realigned youth, both in custody and during reentry. This includes descriptions of facility readiness, in-custody services, programming models, reentry supports, and even regional agreements with other counties. This plan also includes in-progress updates and how counties are shifting to address local needs where innovative practices are being established and where technical assistance may be needed by OICR.
Finally, counties report JRG data using two forms. One form collects data on youth released after completion of their baseline or modified term and discharged from an SYTF or LRP. The other form captures data for youth discharged from DJJ within the first 24 months of release and return to a local juvenile detention facility. Once all counties have reported, OICR compiles and submits the data to the California Department of Finance, DOF. DOF then informs the state controller's office of approved allocation amounts by county, and the controller releases the funds to the counties. This shared structure across three funding streams not only creates consistency, but also sets the stage for OICR to build a broader understanding of system-wide strengths and needs. While each grant has its own distinct focus, the reporting requirements across all three reflect several shared themes. There's a strong emphasis on local program design. Counties have flexibility in how they structure and implement services, but they are expected to clearly articulate their approaches through their annual submissions. Across the board, there is a common goal of keeping youth within the youth system whenever appropriate and supporting their reintegration into the community in a safe and effective way. Finally, there is an increasing focus on data transparency, ensuring that both the state and the public have visibility into how funds are being used and whether those investments are having the intended impact. Taken together, these reporting requirements give OICR a clear picture of what counties are doing on the ground, from early interventions to secure care and reentry. But collecting this information is only the starting point. The next step is using it across all three funding streams to identify what is working, where gaps remain, and how we can support continuous improvement. That is where OICR's evaluative framework comes in.
As we look ahead, OICR is building towards a more comprehensive and evaluative framework that not only administers grants, but also helps us to understand what's working for youth across the state. The foundation for this work is already in place. Counties submit an annual plan or some sort of data expenditure report that outlines their strategies and priorities, and we're producing summary reports that identify funded programs and to begin capturing the statewide landscape. These materials are posted publicly to promote transparency and ensure accountability on our website. We're moving further towards full evaluation by integrating reporting streams across JJCPA, YOBG, JJRBG, and JRG. That includes connecting program plans, expenditures, and outcomes to assess effectiveness over time.
This also means incorporating additional data sources, such as AB 169 data collection, which provides system-level context on youth demographics and placements, along with outcome reporting from OICR-funded discretionary programs, which adds insight into specific practices being tested across the state.
And together, these data sources allow OICR to move beyond just compliance and begin building a more complete picture of what supports youth success. This direction directly responds to the longstanding concerns, including those raised in the 2019 State Auditor's Report regarding the management of JJCPA and other grant funding and reporting about the lack of evaluation and follow-up in prior years. OICR is committed to addressing those gaps. We see this work as part of a long-term shift towards using data, not just for compliance, but as a tool for continuous learning and improvement, with the goal of ensuring that all youth involved in the justice system are supported, empowered, and set up for success.
Thank you so much, Christian and Crystal. Does any member have any comments, questions for Christian and Crystal? Oh.
Of course I do. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was really helpful because I feel like I know a lot about this stuff, but I can't keep all the acronyms straight. So that was really helpful. I appreciate that. And I know that was a request that we made in our last meeting. So thank you very much. So there's a lot of different funding streams, which is very clear. Really kind of first basic question, and I probably have more questions and I can chat with you guys offline another time. But is eligible to apply for these different funding streams? And is it different based on the funding stream? I'm mostly just interested in if like both community-based agencies and government agencies are allowed to apply for all of these different streams.
So the I'll speak for the JJRBG and JJCPA YLBG. I'll try to say those as efficiently as possible. Both are block grants, so they're automatically sent to the county. So there is really no applying. It's just through a formula base. We work with the funding stream and the data or anything that's being collected to communicate those going through. They'd be sent to the county and then worked through and allocated to whoever those are that's serving, or how the money is dispersed throughout the county.
Similarly, counties submit a form with data tracking youth that have re-entered the community and reoffended, and that's how they get the JRG funds.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's helpful because obviously with Title II, it's different. So if block grants go straight, that makes sense. That's helpful. Can you just also provide a little bit more context or information around on the JRG? It provides funding for youth in detention, per youth in detention on a probation violation. What does that mean and why is that funding stream necessary?
It's reimbursing counties for care of youth who have been released from an SYTF LRP, and technically this year is the last year that a youth could have been released from DJJ and reoffended within that 24-month time period. And if the youth reoffends and then the county is caring for the youth again, it's reimbursing them for that, and it's prorated by number of days the youth is in their care.
Okay, that makes sense because that seemed a little odd.
Yeah, the juvenile reentry grant.
And then one final question, and this relates to the subcommittee I'll be talking about. And so it might just be a bigger conversation and maybe part of that work. But you mentioned outcomes several times. And I know oftentimes in the world of JJ, we're often just referring to whether or not they're reoffending and recidivism operationalized in various ways. Is there any other data on like youth success outcomes besides recidivism or reoffending?
Yeah, I can speak towards, it's a little different for JJRBG. JJCPA YLBG, I'll talk to directly first with the data expenditure reports within there. It shares pretty much the county level JJ or JCPSS type data. So it's not necessarily outcomes, but at least can be used to track trends. There is a impact reporting requirement where a county self-reports how their programs are impacting youth within their county. Though there's no real outline towards what should be in there. So even recidivism isn't necessarily something that's called out specifically, but some counties include recidivism in there. A lot of times they just report program outcomes as how many youth went through this or achieved high school level education or continuing into college courses. So that's what we're seeing for outcome data in somewhat for JJCPA YLBG. JJRBG, the only data requirement is what does the target population look like? So there's no outcome data actually reported, but they do describe how they're measuring their outcomes. And sometimes those include everything from, I would refer to the 2020, the most previous JJRBG summary report, but some of them outside of recidivism are educational related ones, whether they obtain employment and hold employment per release. Some of them talk about well-being, self-esteem, and self-identity. Some of those are even included at a county level, and some counties even include program evaluation reports within their JJRBG plan that show some of these extended outcomes. So it really is differing from county to county.
Great, that's very helpful. I will look up those reports. Thank you.
Go ahead, Carol. I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, as my friends know, I have been following these, am I unmuted here? Yeah.
No, you're good. You could hear, we could
Okay.
hear you.
Obsessively since JJCPA was passed. And at the time, and I believe it still exists, there was a very large funding stream called juvenile probation and camp funding, which was the old TANF money. And some years it was even more for Los Angeles than the JJCPA, and this is before all of these other funding streams. Does that still exist?
That's not ours. So that information we don't have under our management, but I don't know if there is an answer that wants to be
Probably a
provided.
county thing, right?
It's called juvenile probation and camp funding, and
Oh,
It's got a
It was
certain
with-
allocate, what?
Yeah, it was with the BSCC and it did not come over to us.
Yes, no,
Member
I know
beyond-
that. I know that, and I was not happy about that at the time because it meant there would be no accountability for that large. And again, I think in LA, some years it's also the vehicle registration, but some years it was $50 million. And there were categories you had to say how you were using it, and they were all the TANF categories. It had to be tutoring or mentoring or substance abuse. It was pretty clear. And I think if that money is still coming into the counties, and I know the accountability for it disappeared when it went away from BSCC. But I think it would be important for you doing this statewide oversight of the money that's going into counties to inquire about it. And I would be interested in hearing, one, if it exists and how's it being used. And, if you have money that's coming in that's influencing one type of service, and then you're funding those services from other funds, that's it's a concern. And so that's one question. When they started putting JJCPA and Youthful Offender Block Grant funds online, I would read LAs, sometimes comparing them to other counties religiously. In October, one gets filed in May, your plan, what you're going to do. And in October, you're meant to report how the prior fiscal year monies, in fact, was spent. And sometimes it's different, sometimes it's not. And I couldn't find LA's October filing. I think I was still checking into late November. I mean, they don't appear immediately, but pretty soon after. So I wanted to know if you can, are they available? You said to make them public, and I honestly, I haven't tried since then. I just gave up. So that's my other question is, can the general public pull these reports up to see first what the plan was, and then the plan that, and then did they actually do that? And in LA's case, even back then, when it wasn't nearly as bad a functioning department as it is now, there was often, it just wasn't accurate, to use a polite word.
Yeah.
But can you still pull those reports?
Yes. So before last year, all of them, I believe, are still housed on the BSCC website. But now that we've taken over the management of those grant funding streams and processes, we have posted last year's JJCPA YOBG data expenditure report on our website, and I can post a link in the chat.
I think there's on the chat. You could look at the chat. It's already posted. Someone posted it. Yeah.
So last year's report should be there, and they should be as submitted by the county.
Okay, I'll look for those. But what I think might have been helpful in your report, you reported the process and how, what they are, how much they are per state would probably be interesting to this group. And what are you learning from them in terms of trends or accuracy, or how are they impacting recidivism? I mean, you're gathering a lot of information. What's happening with it? I mean, I did read the report, the data report that was included with the report, and the 3-year report was very well done. But what are you learning? What are you seeing? What's happening?
Yeah. Regarding the data expenditure reports, last year was the first year that we managed them. And so we're still we're actually putting together a database system in order to make more than 1 year of how those funds are being used, and different types of lenses that you can slice the data with and try to create some narratives. We're trying to make that into a public dashboard so that people can view that a little bit more accessibly. That does take a little bit of time and some planning to make sure that all of our T's are crossed, as well as looking into having an overall data reporting that combines all these together for accountability. I'd say regarding the aspect of that question for the data expenditure report about how the funds are actually being used per how they're described, we can work that into.
No, the first one is their plan. What they say they're gonna do, how many kids are they gonna serve? And then October is supposed to, things change and the numbers change and all of that. But one of the important functions of SAG, of the federally required committee that we are, is to be helpful to counties, to help them do a better job, to what's working in communities well, or many communities, what isn't working. And these things, I think, it's why I would assume we're gathering information, we're getting the data. How do we need to go forward?
Do you mind if I respond? So Carol, I think everything you're asking is kind of related to the subcommittee that I'm going to be chairing based on our conversation from the last meeting. So literally, those are some of the goals of the subcommittee that I'll be presenting on later. So I don't mean to interject, but I think we're all with you. We want to be better at connecting with the counties, and that is like the primary goal of the subcommittee as I've written it so far. So that will be part of our discussion today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what I do want to add to that is part of the mandated reporting of JJCPA WOW-BG that hasn't necessarily been done to how it's written is that there should be a county summary for each of those plans, not just that their annual plan and the data expenditure report are provided publicly. So we will be actually doing sort of what you're suggesting, Carol, that comparing the plan and what has actually happened and trying to provide by county notes. That is 58 different summaries. So it will take a little bit of time. But that sort of lends to offer that information to the subcommittee that Dirk Heising will be presenting on later. And
but what you think, when you think about, one of those streams is 25 years old. The other one since 2007. And then more and more and more. I mean, one sort of irony is that the youthful offender block grant, the main purpose of that was to keep kids from, going to DJJ. So when the DJJ realignment money came down, I was like, wow, that we're going to still get what youth offender block grant if there's not any place to send them. And so I just would like to see, and of course, LA is the only place I know that these funds are used well and for the youth, and they just haven't been in the past, in my opinion.
Yes. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Dr. Carly, for that. I'm looking forward to hearing about that committee. Does anybody have more questions? I think, Terry, you have a question, right?
Yeah, just a quick question. So I know in some counties, and this has been a grant that has been administered a lot, but a lot of them have a lot of this money just sitting. So are we encouraging those counties to spend that money down that is sitting? And also, do they get an adjustment for the money that they don't spend just based on how much? And I know some of it is based on population, but are we adjusting how much they're getting just based on how much they spend now?
Right now, there is no reporting of the expenditures for JJRBG, for instance. That is the county, and they have that ability to do how they do get technical assistance requests how the fund could be used, for instance, for counties that have no youth in an SYTF or any youth that would be considered part of the 7B population. For JJCPA WOW-BG, that will be part of the expenditure report of wondering how much of their funding they're using comparatively to the application. So, and also want to pass to the director.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's currently no, as Christian said, requirement on how JJRBG funds are spent. However, my team, and I have a county coordination unit team, does keep a running list of what the money is being spent on. Because we do have counties, as Christian said, asking, can I spend it on this and that? So if you ever wanted to see the Marcia's team tracks that, because we want to know as well, like what are the dollars being spent on? So just so you know that currently there's no requirement, and but we do track it informally.
Thank you for the question, Tarek. Appreciate it. Does anybody have more questions, concerns from the members on the virtual screen? If not, I just want to thank again Christian and Crystal for your presentation and valuable information. I sit on the JGCC in LA County, and I've been sitting on that since 2017. And it's been hard sitting in that committee and not seeing the money being able to get to where it needs to. So it's good information. Thank you. So now we are at it's 12:28. We are a little bit ahead of our agenda. We were supposed to go on break at 12:45 to 1:15. I think we can still do that. I think let's take like a 30-minute break, and maybe let's come back at 1. Is that cool? Let's come back at 1. So for everybody that's on the virtual screen, maybe this is a time you could turn your camera off, or just just take a break. Let's come back at 1 p.m. and yeah, and we have 2 more items to go over. We have to go to the Ombudsman Ledge report, and then I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to is hearing the updates on the subcommittees. That will be the things we'll cover, and then we'll wrap it up with that and public comment and adjourn, and hopefully everybody is happy after the meeting. More happy, because I know you're all happy for being here. So let's go on a break. Come back at 1 p.m. So it is 1 o'clock. I hope everybody had a good break. I got something to eat, or just had a little time to just breathe some air from this meeting. Let's resume to our meeting now. Let's jump into our next agenda item. I'm gonna introduce Alisa Hartz from the OICR's ombudsman person to provide us with an update from the ombudsman's office on their work. Let's report. So I'll pass it to Alisa Hartz.
Thank you so much. Great, thank you. I was just going to ask for you to spotlight Ahmed, who's joining me today. So for those of you who don't know us, I'm the ombudsperson for OICR, and Ahmed is the chief of the Ombuds Division, and he will be chiming in as needed. So we will start with this presentation. Unfortunately, on the agenda, there was a little bit of false advertising. We will not be presenting the legislative report today. The legislative report is final. It's been approved, and it will be released any day, but we can't present it publicly until we've already given it to the legislature. And so that's happening right now. So we're expecting that to be out any day. We'll send it around when it's out. And this is the legislative report that covers 2024. So once that report is out, we will also be doing a public webinar where we go through and present the report, which covers our data, our some impact narratives, and our recommendations on improving the juvenile justice system. So that will be covered that's all in the report. We'll do a public webinar, and we're very happy to do a special presentation for this body at your next meeting if you would like to do that. So that's something for you to consider for the next agenda item. So for now, we're going to just be running through some of the data highlights, some of which you may have seen in part at our last meeting, but we'll go through it quickly and then we can talk about it. And then just bear in mind that the full report is coming to you very, very soon. And sorry that we're not able to talk about that today. Okay, so next slide, please. So the 2024 milestones are really focused on the fact that this is a brand new function in the state. It's the first time that the state has had an ombudsperson who's able to receive complaints from local facilities. So previously there had been an ombudsperson at DJJ, but they were part of the DJJ team, the CDCR ombudsperson, and they did not take complaints from the local facilities. So this is really a brand new a brand new kind of service to the incarcerated youth of California. And so setting up the office has really required a lot of development of human and material resources. So hiring our team for the first time, we were fully staffed at the end of last December. So for most of 2024, we had 5 out of 6 of our currently allocated positions filled. Now we're fully staffed. Very exciting. We have a really sophisticated case management system that allows us to do nuanced reporting and frequent reporting, and we're really trying to ramp that up. And you'll see the fruits of that in the legislative report. And it's just the beginning. We have a stable helpline system that is working quite well. And then we mailed out all of the Youth Bill of Rights materials. If you go to the next slide, please. Oh, this is our current team. So all 6 of our currently allocated positions are filled. So this slide shows the number of the Youth Bill of Rights materials that were provided. So the AB 2417 went into effect in, I believe it was 2023, and then in 2024 so that established the Youth Bill of Rights, which applies to all youth in local juvenile facilities. It articulates their all of the currently existing rights that they have. And so OICR developed youth-friendly versions of the Youth Bill of Rights in the form of posters and brochures. And you can see the number of posters and brochures that were sent out last year. And they've been really, it's been really incredible to see how the youth are engaging with them, and to sit down with the youth and like be able to kind of have them look at the rights. They often will like ask for a pencil to circle the rights, and it's really a very impactful law, even though it's summarizing, it's not creating new rights, it's just summarizing their existing rights. The other number I wanted to highlight on this slide is the number of helpline calls. So the number of helpline calls is far beyond the number of complaints that we received. Many of the complaints are from the helpline, as you'll see shortly, but this number represents both the inbound calls and outbound calls. So all of the work that our staff is doing to follow up on calls and do the complaint investigations. Those are all captured in this number, as well as test calls, which are very important to ensure that all youth in every facility in California have ongoing access to our helpline and can make complaints. All right, next slide, please. So this slide, we're going to go through all of these in more detail. So please go to the next slide. So we do 2 kinds of site visits. One is the annual site visits, which starting in 2024, AB 505 is requiring the Ombuds Division to visit every facility at least once a year. And so the annual site visits are, we went to every facility in 2024, that's 62 different distinct facilities. And those visits are usually, they're announced because they're a bigger burden on the facility to kind of get the staff together and give us a tour and kind of show us what they're offering to the youth. The other type of site visit that we do is an investigative site visit. Those are site visits that are part of our complaint investigations, and usually we do not announce those. AB 505 also gave us the ability to just go to a facility and speak with youth or visit parts of the facility without prior notice. And so that's typically how we conduct investigative site visits. So by comparison, we're ramping up the investigative site visits. This year already to date, we've done 25 investigative site visits. So that's more than the whole year last year in terms of investigative site visits. And of course, we're moving forward on the annual site visits as well. Next slide, please. So we get two types of complaints. We categorize them into two different buckets. One is youth complaints. So youth complaints are from youth who are currently incarcerated in juvenile facilities, and the general complaints are complaints. They relate to youth who are incarcerated, but they're from anybody besides the youth. So from parents, attorneys, educators, staff, anybody can make a complaint, and those are all considered general complaints. Parents, in 2024, parents submitted 41% of the general complaints. They were the largest group of people submitting the complaints, followed by attorneys and educators. And that's all detailed in the legislative report. If you could just go back to the prior slide briefly. So just by way of comparison, this year, so last year we received 296 complaints. To date, this year we've received 180 complaints. So it's a little bit, we're getting a little bit more complaints this year, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out over the course of the year. Okay, next slide, please. This is the way how we receive the complaints. So you can see that the vast majority of the complaints are coming through our helpline, so coming to us by phone. For youth, it's 85% of youth complaints come from the helpline, which makes sense because they don't have access to, usually, some of them have access to email and can make complaints. But for the youth, it's basically all either helpline. We do get some snail mail from youth, and then sometimes we get in-person complaints. Next slide, please. So these are the cases that we closed in 2024. We closed 154 cases in 2024. And just to kind of give you a sense of where we are this year, we're in mid-June and we've already closed 180 cases this year. So you can see we're really ramping up the ability to resolve complaints, and a lot of those closures were the result of the fruits of the labor of 2024. But we're really focused on the continuous improvement in all of these numbers. All right, next slide, please. So this is where it starts to get interesting. For every case that we close, we make a closure finding, and these are all the different ways that we categorize the findings. So decline to investigate is a category. So the ombudsperson has the discretion to decide whether to investigate a complaint, and there's reasons why we might not investigate a complaint if it's not in our jurisdiction. We can't like if they're an adult facility, for example, then we can't investigate it. If we can't provide the requested relief, we may decline to investigate. If it's not made in good faith or just kind of a harassing complaint, we don't need to investigate. Or if we've already investigated the exact same issue, we might not investigate. This decline to investigate number looks really big, but I think it's kind of misleading because, and we're working on just making our reporting on this more nuanced. This doesn't mean that we sat down and said, no, we are not investigating all of these 84 complaints. It means that for many of the complaints, they were ones that we wanted to investigate, but for some reason were impeded from investigating it. For instance, we might get a complaint and then need more information and like try to do more screening and get more information to find out if there was a rights violation. And then in that process, we either can't reach the complainant or the youth is released before we can get the information we need, or sometimes the facility has already resolved the complaint by the time we're able to kind of get involved. But as I said, that number is going to we're going to make that number a lot more nuanced because I think it doesn't fairly represent our approach to cases, which is really to investigate as many cases as we can, dependent on on the subject and of course our ability to provide to get to the requested resolution. So that's the decline to investigate category. Then we can move to the next slide. So the next slide, it's the same data, but it's divided up by the findings for the general complaints versus the youth complaints. So for instance, of the cases we declined to investigate, 40 were not from youth and 44 were from youth. And then you can see the findings for the complaints that we did investigate. So unsubstantiated means that the facts and evidence support our conclusion that the allegation is untrue or invalid. Substantiated finding means that there is enough evidence to lead a reasonable person to accept the allegation as true. No findings. So sometimes investigations are closed without a finding, and there might be some reasons that this might happen are we might notify the chief of a complaint, but even after that notification, or by the time they've gotten that notification, they've already resolved the issue before our complaint even got to them. Sometimes the complainant withdraws the complaint and doesn't want us to move forward. So we may close the case with no findings. Sometimes we need more information from the complainant and just can't get it, and so are not able to proceed with the investigation. Inconclusive is usually when there's that will be when there's like a dispute of fact. So if it's a he said, she said scenario and we can't get any objective evidence like video or witness testimony, then we may make an inconclusive finding and refer it out. For instance, we might refer out a complaint to the Office of the Foster Care Ombudsperson if it's a complaint about a youth who is either no longer in the facility or whose issue arose outside the facility. Next slide, please. These are the issues that are from the complaints that we received in 2024. I think we may have talked about this at the last meeting. These are only alleged issues, so these are not these are not all substantiated. We haven't broken it down in that way, although I think that's something that we're interested in doing in the future. There are more issues than complaints because many complaints will have more than one issue. Next slide, please. Okay, so the upcoming in 2025, so I've already said the legislative report that will be out in any day now, I hope. The legislative report, it has a lot of data. It has like 21 data tables, but it also has impact narratives. So it goes through the complaints in the different categories like substantiated, unsubstantiated, no findings, and it gives little narrative summaries of what the complaint was and how it was resolved. So I think that will give you a really good picture of the kinds of resolutions that we're able to get to and the types of issues that are coming to us. There's just a huge range of severity and topic of the complaints. Annual site visits, we do the 62 site visits every year, so we are plugging ahead with those this year. And then we are working very hard on our case closure timelines and really making sure that our investigations that we're always improving in getting our investigations to bringing them to fruition in as efficient of a time period as we can so that we can make the most impact for the young people who we are here to serve. All right, happy to take any questions. And Ahmed, please jump in if there's anything that I missed.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing once it gets published and is made public. But for any member have questions, comments, the presentation that was done by Ombudsman team. Go ahead, Carol.
Is it possible to? Oh, well,
What are the most common complaints? I mean, what are kids the most concerned about? What are parents the most concerned about?
So that's a very interesting question, breaking down what the issues are for youth and then the general complaints, and we haven't broken down the issues in that way. You can see if we go back to the slide on the issues, you can see that the largest category is abuse and excessive use of force. So we do get a lot of complaints about pepper spray or youth being injured through some kind of use of force by staff. or like staff being the youth feel that staff are being disrespectful or unfair to them. So that's the top category. But I think that's a really great question, like the youth versus everybody else. I would say probably the youth, when we go through that, we'll see that the youth often call us with kind of daily living concerns, like lots of food issues, really. And I will tell you that food is that's a very hard issue for us to resolve, because they're the food is what it is, and we can make recommendations, but it's a kind of a complex facility
it's a big
issue.
problem, and it's usually just horrible.
Yeah, and I mean, some places use make their own food, and those tend to have fewer complaints. Some bring the food in from the jail. So it really ranges. Some of them have great culinary programs. Some of them, I think one of the practices that we've seen that we're quite interested in is doing surveys of youth about the meals that they prefer, because even if you have like even if it's jail food or some kind of less than desirable food, the youth still have preferences from what they're being given. And so I think the ability for them to give input into what they're eating, even if it's not like ideal, it still makes a difference to them. And they'll say, like, I mean, I know I'm locked up, so it's not going to be great, but like this stuff is cold, or this stuff is, I only like the meatballs or that kind of thing. So that is one of the recommendations that I think we're making.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you also, in the bigger report, is it going to show some of these complaints by county?
It shows the numbers by county, but it doesn't, and it shows the numbers by county, and it shows like the numbers substantiated, like with the closure findings by county, but it doesn't show the topics by county.
And when you when you see that information like year to year to year, does anyone like evaluate like these counties seem to be doing really well, and what is it about them, and these counties seem to continue to have problems, and how we're trying to help fix that, mitigate it, do some of those things?
I mean, that's a great idea. This is our first legislative report, so it's the first year that we have any kind of meaningful data, because of just the evolution of the office. But that's certainly something that we will be looking at. I think there's a few things. One is, having a lot of complaints from a facility doesn't mean necessarily that the facility is not doing well. It may mean that they have a culture where youth are aware of their rights, and youth are given full access to call us, and youth are like, know that they can advocate for themselves, in this way. And so like that, I mean, to me, it's a positive thing to get complaints from a facility, and to not have any complaints from a facility doesn't necessarily mean that there's no issues. I mean, maybe it means there's no issues, but it may mean that they, for whatever reason, just either aren't aware of us, or aren't encouraged to, or there's like a culture like that we've heard about, concerns that calling us is being a snitch. So that kind of culture is also concerning. So I would not draw conclusions based on the number of complaints per county, on its own, when you see those. But it's certainly something, and we know what the complaints are from within the counties, and so we can see the trends within a county, and we do have the ability to do a special report, and that's certainly something that we're considering, as we're building up our capacity. So if we notice that there was a big problem in a certain county, then we could, do a special report to the legislature, naming the issue and naming the county.
Thank you. I had a question for those that seek, because there was a high number of people that don't seek further investigation. Is there ways where you're becoming creative and still pursue those? Because I feel as someone from LA County, y'all seen the things that have happened in LA County, you know, a kid died in LA County. So my question is like, if those are some concerning issues, do you still find ways to pursue that investigation regardless? It was not um, that they were regardless what decline it, but if at what point do you still pursue that? Because one of the things is like, I wouldn't want us to miss something that actually turns into something bigger than what it is, you know. Like I said, I'm referencing LA County, for example, but I'm just saying, is that something y'all thinking about, or like, are you figure out creative ways to just address those issues that might still require further investigation to best support the party that is complaining about that part or declining that part?
That's a great question, and yes, absolutely. So if we're investigating a complaint and a youth is released, we don't automatically close the investigation or stop it. If it's a systemic, if it's like a youth specific issue where it's not like, doesn't seem like a systemic issue and it was like the youth needing a certain service or something, and the youth is released, then that's the kind of investigation that we might close. But if it's a serious issue or if it's a systemic issue that the youth raised, then we will continue with the investigation, regardless of whether they're released or not. The other thing is that we do have the ability to open our own complaints without having to have a complainant. So like I, as the ombudsperson, can say I am opening an investigation into something like into X, something I've seen when on a site visit or encountered myself directly. And you know, we have done that numerous times. So we do have tools to do exactly what you're describing in terms of not necessarily waiting for youth to come to us or parents to come to us if we do have access to the information. But we also really need people to be contacting us from the community. And so for you, if you sharing our contact information and sharing the resource is very important, as people are starting to get to know that our office exists, because it really is a brand new thing.
Thank you. Appreciate. Let's go with the doctor. I see your hand up.
Yes. Thanks for this information. Is there a way, do you guys track on how many complaints are actually resolved? Is there a tracking of that?
Yes. So, you mean like how many get the desired outcome that the youth wants, or
just are closed, I guess, might be complaints that are closed or what have you.
Yes. So there were two tables there
Okay, I'm
on
sorry.
the presentation that have like it had like substantiated, unsubstantiated, no findings. So those are cases that we investigated and closed. One of the areas that we are expanding our reporting on is how we're resolving cases. So for instance, we can make a recommendation. We can't require anybody to do anything to resolve a complaint. So what we would do is we'd make a recommendation to the department, and then if they accept it, then and implement it, then we record that. Or if we make a recommendation and they're like, thanks but no thanks, then we record that. And so we hope to have more information going forward on the actual outcomes of the complaint, in addition to just whether they were what our findings were in terms of substantiation or unsubstantiation.
So they have a choice whether to follow that? I mean, that seems.
Oh yeah, no, it's all, we only make recommendations. We are not a compliance body. We have no ability to require them to do anything. But what we can do is we can report to the legislature, and we can do special reports. And so there have been some really good outcomes. Like, even though they know they're not required to do things, there have been departments that have undertaken serious taken serious responses to the complaints, like by totally changing a policy on strip searching youth who are returning from college furloughs, or like revising policies, or definitely giving youth certain access to certain things that they wanted that they didn't have. So those you'll see in the narratives of our complaints. But I think like there's been like the fact that it's not required is not, that doesn't mean that they're not, that departments are not, at least sometimes responsive to, in a meaningful way, to the complaint resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go with, I have another hand up there. Do I, or?
Oh,
Yeah, I can see my bad. I can see the names here. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Oh, okay. So my question is similar to Dr. Porter's. So I'd like to know what happened. I'd like to know two things. What has happened in the cases that you found things substantiated, especially with the really high, some of those complaints to me are more serious than others, especially like retaliation, grievance response, you know, violence. You know, I mean, some of those that were just to me when we're dealing with youth. And I'm curious as to find out. So you're not an enforcement body. So I'd like to know what actually did happen in response to some of those more serious, substantiated ones. But I'd also like to know. I think it would be important for us in our capacity to know about the substantiated ones that rejected your recommendations. When you said, here's what we found that was in violation, we recommend you do X, Y, Z, and they say, nah, you know, like you just said, you know, like, nope, you know, and because that's important to me. I'd want to know the attitude and the you know, the receptiveness of counties, especially with more serious, what I consider your top 4 or 5 that were on your list, the more serious infractions, and what they, you know, and you know, so we can find out. I think because to me, if they're not open to your feedback and recommendation, that suggests to me that there may be a systemic issue there and something that may in fact be repeated, because that's just an attitude about these things. And then the other ones, I'd like to know what the legislature actually did do to address them. You said they do sometimes, but I'd really like to know how responsive our elected officials have been to the recommendation, to the findings that you've made and the recommendations that you know, and what you recommended, and you know, and how effective or successful they were or not. You know, because I remember I was talking earlier, and you were talking to me, and they were sharing earlier how a lot of these bills that are related to youth are tabled or are stopped in committee. So I'd like to know, like, did they start talking about it? They heard you. They said, this is serious. We should do something about it. Here, we're going to write this. This is proposal. Oh, it gets tabled. And so, because now then what happens? Because then it kind of really probably just kind of goes away, right? I mean, until maybe you come back again and say, well, we found this again in, you know, in the same institution, in the same county, because you guys were going to do something about it the last time, and you started, but you didn't finish, and so and now we found this again. Those would be the things that would be important to me, as so that we could do whatever we have the power to do or recommend as it relates to making sure that these youth are treated fairly.
That's helpful feedback, and I think it's definitely consistent with our efforts to get more nuanced documentation of how the complaints are, so that we can really just report out on the numbers of times our recommendations are accepted, and when we offer something and it's not offer a recommendation, it's not accepted. So we do offer a lot of technical assistance as part of the resolution. So it might not be like do X, Y, and Z to fix the issue. It would be like we offer OICR subject matter experts in supporting incarcerated girls so that you can improve the climate for the facility or something like that. And like that's one really great thing about being within OICR is that there's this like incredible subject matter expertise where we can offer that technical assistance. And that's an area that we're really trying to build up this year as well, is really kind of making that connection more seamless and more intensive. And then I did want to mention that we, like, after we, when we substantiate complaints, we often refer them for follow-up to other bodies, such as the BSCC. So if there's something that's a Title 15 violation that we've substantiated, then we share our findings with the BSCC and say, you know, let them know what we found, give them all the information, and then ask them to follow up in their, like, either depending on the nature of the issue, they might go right away to look into it, or they might incorporate it into their next inspection. But really, like, even if it's been resolved, we want them to, BSCC, to be aware that it's something for them to kind of to be tracking and making sure that they're that the follow-up is happening. Because we're not, at least right now, we're not really in a position to kind of, I mean, we don't like monitor after we've closed a complaint and gotten a resolution. We don't necessarily continue to monitor the situation because we just don't have the staff to do that.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Elisa, and Dr. Everybody for the questions and comments on this. Now I would like to, wait, any more questions or comments on this from anybody? If not, doesn't seem like nobody's raising their hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and move us along to the next agenda item. So now we're moving to subcommittee updates. We will hear from our chairs of each of the 5 subcommittees with updates on their progress. I will turn the meeting over to OICR consultant Tara Lane to facilitate this next discussion.
Thank you, Chair Mendoza. At our last meeting, the committee voted to form 5 subcommittees to help focus our work together, which is what you see here on screen. Each subcommittee is designed to involve key stakeholders with specialized expertise. In the interim, since our last meeting, OICR staff has been meeting with the committee chairs to support planning efforts. So today you're going to hear updates from each of the subcommittee chairs on aspects of planning so far. So you'll hear about the proposed purpose and responsibilities for the subcommittee, the meeting cadence if that's been determined, and an update on their member recruitment. We're going to start with an update on the Racial and Ethnic Disparities subcommittee. Judge Back is the chair of this committee. He's unfortunately unable to be here today. So we'll hear from Marcia Rincon Gallardo and Cecilia Simmons, both from OICR, who are both supporting the Racial and Ethnic Disparities subcommittee.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, perfect. So I am Cecilia Simmons. I am a county liaison with the System Change and Equity Division, and I'm also, and I'm also here with Marcia Rincon Gallardo, who is the Chief of System and Equity from OICR. Next slide, please. Thank you. The purpose and responsibilities will be to co-create by the subcommittee the responsibilities and purpose, and we have not fully established a full subcommittee. We currently have 4 subcommittee members, including Laura Rodolfi, she's from the Bay Area, Sandra McBriar from Southern California, Sergio Coronel from South Central Valley, and Judge Brian Back from Southern California. We currently have 6 vacancies, and we are currently doing outreach for membership, but we will meet with the current 4 RED subcommittee members to give more recommendations on who should be part of the subcommittee. We also meet every month with the Coalition for Juvenile Justice, or CJJ, RED coordinator meeting, who provides federal guidance on reporting requirements, tips on how to report, and share peer experience as to how other states' RED subcommittees are functioning. And I'll pass it on to Marcia.
We have a short and brief report, given that we're still building this committee. In the meantime, though, what I did want to share is that we're being very conscious of the level of diversity that we want to have in the subcommittee. So geographically, racially, ethnically, LGBTQ representation, able or disabled individuals, and young voices of individuals who have been formerly incarcerated. So we're definitely, as we go through the process and as we bring the 4 that have already confirmed wanting to be on this subcommittee, then we'll meet with them to bring further names. We have gone through, I want to say, at least 7 other names that we've reached out to, and people's busy schedules don't allow them to confirm to be on this subcommittee, but we will continue to work on it to get to the 10 that the Judge Back and Cecilia and I have initially determined would be the right number for now. We also want to just share briefly that while we want to include individuals that have racial equity work experience behind them, we're also looking for individuals that don't, because we believe the need to build capacity of future leaders. And so in that way, definitely getting young people with that are formerly incarcerated and whatever level they come to us. And then last is that once this committee has all been selected, that then a co-chair will be selected from the committee itself so that they can join Judge Back. And he was concerned that there'd be somebody around who can cover, that they can cover for each other when one is not able to attend. So that is our full report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to respond. I'm glad that Cecilia mentioned the CJJ National Committee for Racial and Ethnic Disparities Coordinators. I am the official coordinator for the state of California. I try to attend all those meetings, and if I can't, we do have a staff member that attends. And we have been, so getting to your question about language, there has been a very in-depth conversation about what kinds of language. We're going to go through the plan and relook at the plan one more time to make sure that the language that we utilize is conforming with what we think will not bring, big red flags to California. So we will look at that plan this plan that we have to submit by July 8th, we're being informed that we should submit sooner rather than later. It is already complete. We're going to go through it one more time before it actually is submitted. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Cecilia and Marcia. We'll open the floor briefly for questions and comments about the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Subcommittee. Just a reminder, we will have another period for public comment at the end. For now, we will open the floor for members, questions, and comments. Member Davis?
So my question is we talked about this at the last meeting, and I voiced my interest in being a part of this subcommittee, but I didn't know what to do beyond that, and I haven't been contacted. So I wasn't really sure. I was on the previous RED committee, and so I know you're looking for diversity. I didn't know if you may already have a formerly incarcerated African American with a PhD, but if you don't, I'd like to be part.
We will definitely add you.
So anyway, Marcia, so.
Dr. Davis, we will definitely add you since you have voiced your interest. Previously, we weren't sure how this was going to pan out in terms, and we did. I think there was actually a request if anybody from the current State Advisory Committee was interested. I don't know what happened that maybe we didn't get.
And we're gonna ask that after the committee is done. We're gonna make the same request after everybody plays prisoner. We're gonna ask like if any
Perfect.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
could come
So
back
we
to this.
will follow up with you. And thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Can
so
I
much.
just
Go ahead.
kind of piggyback on kind of what I was talking about earlier, and especially since you've already been chatting with CJJ around these issues, because I feel like it's kind of a unique situation in that, you know, red is embedded within the federal act, and while red is not DEI, it's like, you know, in some way maybe adjacent, but you know, it's like it's really just random words at this point that are getting these red flags. So like I've been on like committees that are just having to change the names of the committees, for instance, even though they're kind of essentially doing the same work, right?
Right.
So I was just kind of wondering, because it's kind of this unique situation, is there a sense of kind of what is CJJ maybe concerned about, or is it just still kind of a question mark, or because you can't change the federal
No,
legislation?
so definitely utilizing words that already exist as opposed to utilizing DEI or equity kinds of, you know, lens type of conversation or language, sticking with disproportionality, disparities, language that already exists in the law. So because that is the law, so we want to make sure that we comply with that.
Yeah, I mean, because states are required to report this information, right?
Correct.
It's just because this has come up also. I've been working with some policy folks that are connected with a senator in Utah, for instance, and were submitting something to him that had a flag, and they said, oh, maybe we should take this out. But I told them, I said, well, actually, if you use this language, RED, it's in the act, so it should be okay. So
Right.
I guess what I'm hearing is, as of now, that's the sentiment.
There has not been any pushback on
Okay.
that, given that that is the language that is already utilized and people are familiar with. I think if we had really shifted and used more of the DEI language, that we may have had to go back and shift it. But from what I'm looking at in terms of previous submission of reports, that was not utilized. They stayed clear and utilized racial and ethnic / disparities language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for confirming that, because even like saying LGBTQI.
Got muted.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions or comments from members? All right, I'm not seeing any other hands on Zoom or in the room. So we will move forward and invite Dr. Porter next to share updates from the Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to share what we've put together for the Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee. Next slide. Our suggested purpose statement is this here. This subcommittee supports the SACJJDP by tracking policy trends, analyzing legislation, and offering data-informed recommendations to advance youth justice reform in California to meet the goals and purposes of the federal JJDPA. I think it's pretty clear and clear as to what this subcommittee will do. The roles and responsibilities of our subcommittee are the following: to lift up community and youth voices, track policy trends and legislation related to youth justice, promote compliance with the Federal Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act's core requirements, provide neutral educational resources to legislators upon request, and then when requested, and then respond to formal legislative requests, recommend data-informed strategies to the State Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Recruitment strategy, really to build a subcommittee that has statewide representation from all backgrounds, like we just heard, persons with lived experience and youth voice, with a focus on identifying needed perspectives and experience, outreach via personal networks and youth justice coalitions, and develop transparent and inclusive recruitment process. So that's our strategy. And then we're open to any questions, reflections, final thoughts here. from you all. Our first subcommittee meeting will be scheduled soon, but we are open to having individuals, of course, from this group to be a part of this committee. So any questions?
Floor is open for members. Questions, comments? Thank you, Dr. Porter.
Thank you.
Not seeing any questions or comments. And so we will move forward to the next subcommittee, and I'll invite Chair Mendoza to present on the Restorative Justice Subcommittee.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna pass it kindly to Efrain. I don't know if you're online. Efrain, are you online? Yes, you are. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have Efrain, who's one of our committee members from our Restorative Justice Committee, do the report back on our behalf. So Efrain, give you the floor. And
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ken. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Efrain Morales, and I am a member of SACJJDP Subcommittee, Restorative Justice Committee. So the purpose of our committee is the Restorative Justice Subcommittee is to advance healing center, community-rooted approaches to accountability by promoting restorative justice practices that prioritize relationship building, harm repair, and the inclusion of impacted voices. The subcommittee will work collaboratively to challenge punitive systems, support policy transformation, and build capacity of institutions and community to implement restorative frameworks that build and support safety, dignity, and collective care. Next slide. All right, so responsibilities for our subcommittee is contributing to discussions and the development of policy recommendations on youth restorative justice issues. We're also going to be gathering insights from youth with lived experience, impacted and harmed parties, experienced harm in the juvenile justice system, with lived experience during subcommittee meetings. We'll also be connecting with restorative justice leaders and experts to identify topics salient to the 3-year plan or other SACJJDP priorities. And we're also going to be engaging in various projects and initiatives that align with the committee's goals and objectives. All right, so as far as membership and recruitment, the target size for the subcommittee is 60 members. We currently have 1 chair, 1 co-chair, and 13 OYCR Restorative Justice Committee members joining the subcommittee. And we currently have 2 vacancies. We're working on filling up those vacancies. We have folks from various backgrounds, folks that are working with youth, Prosecutors Alliance. We have some county members. Another membership recruitment is the chair of the subcommittee will select and conduct outreach for members of the subcommittee. OYCR will also assist with the outreach. The subcommittee will make the final decision. Members should have a diverse restorative justice background from across the state, including survivors, lived experience individuals, youth, mental health practitioners, education experts, regional and national experts. A co-chair will be part of the RJ subcommittee. We've nominated Jessica Ellis, will be the co-chair from Centinela Youth Services. And I believe that's it. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, any comments on the subcommittee for restorative justice.
No, thank you, Efrain. I would just say that this committee has already met 2 times. We really spent a lot of time in the purpose. We edited and amended and changed it, thanks with the help of Cecilia, as well as responsibilities. So this committee has really been engaging, and we already have a chair and a co-chair of this committee. So we're planning on having a meeting at least once a month, leading up, at least 2 more meetings leading up to our main meeting on July that we have coming up, to provide some more updates on this work. But just know that I'm excited for this committee, and yeah, we have a good team. And right now we have 2 vacancies. We have 14 people already, so we're trying to find 2 more people to fill the gap. Other than that, thank you, Efrain, and thank you, Cecilia, for helping on this one. Pass it back to you, Tara.
Okay, floor is open for questions or comments from members about the Restorative Justice Committee. All right, not seeing any comments in Zoom or in the room. So we will move forward and pass it to Member Tyreek Ship for an update on the Youth and Emerging Leaders Subcommittee.
Yeah, thank you. So Of course, as you know, we got the Youth and Emerging Leaders Subcommittee. This is something that I've been working closely with the Youth Advisory Board on, and everything that they have going on, trying to make something else, but also not trying to step on their toes and make it something that really meaningfully works with this body, with the SACJ. So it's focused on like oversight and providing that youth perspective, right? Like, and I haven't tweaked the language yet, but we're tweaking the language to make sure that youth are truly centered inside the decision making that goes on, especially around racial and ethnic disparities, aftercare, reentry, and really allow those experiences to turn into something meaningful. So it's supposed to strengthen the state's commitment to youth engagement by focusing not just on input, but on youth-led accountability, reflection, and evaluation, right? These youth have went through something, so how can we use their experience to really make it worth their while? And we're talking about justice delinquency prevention, like these are the experts in this. And so that is the real purpose, just focused on having that youth-centered approach. So our responsibilities, of course, we want to support the oversight of Title II implementation through that youth lens, right? That youth-centered approach. We want to, and like I said, racial and ethnic disparities, aftercare, and reentry is our main focuses. But also, we want to be able to pop into some of these other subcommittees as well, and give them our perspective from a youth perspective, and then bring it back to our subcommittee and really have a diverse group of youth who can speak on those experiences. And we want to be able to build youth leaders out of this, right? Eventually, some of these young people might sit on this committee at some point, or they might go somewhere else, and then start to build that pipeline for them to be in other committees and be a part of other things, and just try to track youth justice up and down California at that point. Next slide. So the way we're recruiting, we're sticking within that youth range. So we're looking for young people ages 18 to 27 with lived experiences. Some of them don't have to have specific lived experience, just so we can have a diverse background. Some of them may have been diverted or may not have entered the system, but we want to have a bunch of people who with different experiences from up and down California who can give us a perspective. Two of our committee members here, the other two youth committee members on this body, Monte McKay and Isaiah Barber, have already agreed to join. And so we'll have all of our youth members here, but we're also recruiting through other community organizations, through other departments, trying to figure out how can we reach as many youth as possible. Currently, we don't have a co-chair, but that is something that we will try to appoint, especially just like if there are scheduling conflicts. We always want this subcommittee to always continue to grow and continue to go, especially because there's a lot of young people who want to be involved in it. And so yeah, we'll be partnering with like community-based organizations, other county departments, and we'll probably have like a Google form where we can have a bunch of young people to raise their interest. And I think we haven't set a meeting yet, but I want to have a meeting as soon as next month, just to have everybody meet, appoint a co-chair, get everybody okay with all of our responsibilities and everything, and then confirm everything. So that is the Youth and Emerging Leaders subcommittee, and that is the purpose of it, really just to make sure youth are centered.
Thank you so much. Our microphones don't have quite as much energy as we do. We've outlasted our microphones. Any floor is open for members for questions or comments about the Youth and Emerging Leaders Subcommittee.
I will just say, we do have one of your committee members in our committee, and the point of having a youth is to be like the liaison between that committee and our RJ committee. So just want to say that in, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we could get like a member of our committee in every committee so they can all bring that perspective inside of there.
Really smart. I'm not seeing any other hands raised on Zoom or.
So they actually are helping me come up with the purpose, so they're doing that's where the youth centered. At first we had it where it was just oversight and youth may be heard, but they wanted that youth-centered language inside the purpose. And so the new purpose is focused on youth being centered, and that comes directly from the Youth Advisory Board.
Okay, not seeing any other questions or comments in the room or on Zoom. So we will move forward to our last subcommittee update from Dr. Carly Durkheising. Dr. Durkheising is the chair of a committee that was originally voted and named the Grants and Funding of Youth Programs, but there will be a proposed name change, which you'll hear about in just a moment. Dr. Durkheising.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm not going to read all this to you. I'll let you guys kind of digest this. It's a little long, but we have worked on renaming this to the Community Investment and System Accountability for Youth Justice Subcommittee. It's a bit of a mouthful. You could drop off for youth justice when you need to, but I just thought it was a little bit more encompassing of what we were discussing. And really my goal today, which I want to start with, is twofold, is that I want to make sure this aligns with kind of what the SAG wants this subcommittee to be focused on, but I also really want for you to think while I'm talking of any potential folks that might be interested in being a part of this subcommittee. So please keep that in mind because we are recruiting, and we'll take someone from your subcommittee as well, Tyreek. So that's good. I see this subcommittee as having kind of a dual-pronged approach. So one piece is that community investment piece, which kind of came up earlier around in some ways I think about it as like establishing a community of practice among the current and former grantees of Title II funds. But I think we could also like expand it beyond that eventually, but that's kind of the beginning place, right? Is those current and former grantees so that we can start connecting them to each other, but also connecting them to the SAG. Because I think we've all talked a lot about feeling kind of disconnected from some of those CBOs and our community partners. And so we want to be kind of a conduit for them to also be able to talk to each other and share best practices and innovative approaches. So the subcommittee can serve as kind of a resource to agencies and CBOs to learn from another ideally. And learn about what other counties are doing. And then the other piece is that kind of system accountability piece is really thinking about what are the funding streams. So thank you for the presentation today, and really thinking about those funding streams. Are they equitable? Are they being held accountable? Which is why I'm looking at you, Christian, because I think you're going to end up coming to some of our meetings maybe, and just really talking about, and I already looked at some of those expenditure reports. So, and really just thinking about, a piece of that is like the accountability, looking at evaluation reports, thinking through kind of what Dr. Davis had brought up last time about, and I bring up frequently about, what are they tracking? What are we looking at as success, ideally beyond just recidivism, right? And then also for the communities and CBOs to know what's available for funding, right? So I think that can be a challenge for folks, is they might not even realize what they can apply to, for instance. And then Carol, please note the last sentence, central goal is to ensure that funds administered through government agencies such as probation departments, the courts, and other affiliated system partners are spent in ways that meaningfully support youth, families, and community well-being. So again, twofold, it's about kind of supporting communities that and agencies that are funded by the state, but also making sure that there's some accountability with that. So you can go to the next slide and we can talk a little bit about the overarching goals, which I think I kind of already covered in terms of just strengthening that relationship between grantees, again, so that they can learn from each other, and establishing that network of practice. Transparency and accountability I kind of touched on. And then of course, a piece of this, we want to make sure that we're elevating that community voice and impact. There are some folks that are doing really great work and we all don't know about it. So how can we make sure that people are connected, that communities are connected, and then really is providing that informational resource. So I think I kind of covered all of this. If you can go to the next slide. So ideally we're shooting for about 10 people. It's okay if we maybe end up under that. I think, sometimes there can be too many heads in the room. So we just really want to be a productive subcommittee. So we really want committee members that have knowledge and are interested in this area. Obviously, I'll be chairing the committee, and it would be great to have a co-chair. We're looking for folks who have lived experience in the system, or have been employed or previously employed in the system, and broadly speaking, when we say the system, or folks that are employed or previously employed at CBOs that serve youth impacted by the justice system in some way. We also would like researchers with program evaluation experience and individuals with deep knowledge of these funding mechanisms and or grant management. So Crystal Lewis, who is my support at OICR, is definitely checks that box. And she's the one who's connected to the Title II grantees. And so we've been talking about kind of how we can work together to bring them together. So for instance, like she noted that she has to go on site visits. And I had asked if there would be opportunities for the subcommittee to maybe meet in person. And one idea was maybe we can meet at a site and we can join her and go tour one of the grantees as a subcommittee and spend the day, right? And report back on that. So these were just some ideas that we were talking about. Other ideas would be having grantees just simply come and presenting at the subcommittee meetings. Just again, kind of making sure that we understand what's going on and happening across the counties. We do plan to hold the meetings monthly, with the exception of August and December. So I think we're shooting for the third Tuesdays of the month at 2 p.m. So that would be July 15th would be our next meeting. And then September 16th, October 21st, and November 18th. I would plan starting in September, I can hold meetings in person at Cal State LA, which is a public space, or we can do a hybrid option with that as well. But if folks want to come, they can be in person, which is always better. And then Michelle Guyman, who's on the call, is already on the subcommittee. And then one of my former students has also agreed to be on the subcommittee, who is working in the Central Valley at a restorative justice community-based agency, actually, and formerly worked with GRID in LA, and has evaluation experience as well. So there's currently 3 of us. So I'll kind of, the main goal today is just to at least get your minds rolling about who might be a good fit for this subcommittee among the SAG members, or if there's other SAG members that are interested in joining. We had talked also about having someone from the Youth Advisory Board, but it doesn't have to be a YAB member. It could be someone else maybe from your subcommittee. So please keep that in mind, Tyree, because we definitely want that. And then also reaching out to current or former Title II grantees, so folks who actually have been funded on the committee as well. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Dr. Kaiser.
Carly, I'll join.
Okay.
I'll
There
join
it
the
is.
committee.
We're 40% full now.
Awesome. I had someone that I wanted to refer to your committee. He sits at the POC in LA County, and he used to work in probation. I think he'll be good for that body.
Great. Okay.
Other comments and questions from the members?
Great job, everybody.
All right. I will pass it back to Chair Mendoza to talk a bit more about membership and participation in subcommittees.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of already jumped on this, but in order to continue the work of all of these committees to move forward, I want to ask everybody here to at least consider joining one of the 5 committees. So I guess I want to take the time right now to open it up on the floor. If you are not in any committee at the moment, I think this is a question for you too. Basically I want to open it to members if there's an interest, if you haven't joined any committee. If so, now that you heard the presentations from everybody and kind of got a little bit glimpse of what the purpose, responsibilities are, and the timelines and the recruitment and all that, versus the last times, now it's a little bit more clear. I would like to hear if there's anybody here that hasn't been appointed to a committee or hasn't volunteered for one, if you can kindly just name. I mean, Carol, you already named the one you wanted to join, right? With Dr. Carly. I think someone else had joined earlier, right? It was who was it? It was someone else had. Dr. Davis for the restorative justice. No, go ahead.
Racial and ethnic disparities.
Okay. So yeah, I guess open it up for members to state the committee that would like to be on, or if everybody's already on one already. I don't know, I can't keep track, but
I'd like to be on all of them, but I'm just joking because they're all very, very, very interesting. I think that the issue is just, time, I think, for everybody, I run a pretty large agency and do that. But, if we can double up, I always like Carly's because she's doing research and I do some of that, and she, like me, I'm always interested in what are the outcomes of the money that's invested, that's spent, at the grantees. But that's, I think, but she's going to do a great job there. But I'm really interested in the policy and legislative advocacy. That's what I just talked about earlier. I just want to see how some of these, just especially like the ombudsman presentation, how they, how the findings they make translates into policy and advocacy. So if we can be on two, and if I can manage two, I wouldn't mind being on Dr. Porter's subcommittee as well. But my first priority is racial and ethnic disparities. But so I'll just put that out there. I mean,
yeah, I would say that if anything, there's no problem with that. I mean, just yeah, I think that should be okay. I think if you do 3, then that's a little bit too much. But 2, that should be good. So I think that's cool. I think you welcome him. So on the other one, my bad. So I think there's no problem with it unless OICR says otherwise. But I think that should be fine. So at this point, is everybody already on one committee? It seems like everybody is already on one, right? Like Michelle, you're on one, right? Carol, you're on one already. Everybody in the screen already is on one. Everybody here is already. So I don't think we need to. Maybe the people that are not here today. So maybe we could touch base on those people that are not here today and ask them kindly, maybe through an email, like, we made this decision. People already joined. We would like to hear which ones out of all these 3, 5, you would like to join. And maybe we could share the PowerPoint with them. So yeah, I don't think that's a good process for everybody, but that's what I'm suggesting. Other than that, yes. Oh, we got it. Okay. Well, I guess now we're going to move to the vote of the subcommittee's names change, and I'm gonna pass it to Tariq Chip to lead that.
All right, perfect. So we do have an action item to change the name of the grant/funding and youth program subcommittee to the Community Investment and System Accountability for Youth Subcommittee. First, can I have a motion to approve the name change?
Supervisor Baca will motion.
Motion by Supervisor Baca. Can I get a second?
Second. Porter.
All right. Is there any member discussion on this item?
In addition to member discussion, before we take a vote, we want to open up for public comment briefly.
Okay. Well, if there is no member discussion, let's open it up for public comment now.
Just a reminder, if anyone wants to make public comment, you can raise your hand in Zoom, or if you're in the room, you can raise your physical hand. You'll have 2 minutes to make comments, and we will keep track of the order. Just checking to make sure no one's got their hand raised. If you're having trouble raising your hand, you also can write in chat. Okay, not seeing any comments in chat or physical hands in the room. I'll pass it back to Tyreek for a roll call on the vote.
Okay, now I'll take roll. Respond by saying aye, nay, or abstain. Supervisor Joe Baca Jr.
Supervisor Baca, aye.
Honorable Brian Beck. Okay. Isaiah Barber. Carol Beyond. Dr. BJ Davis.
I think it's a great name change.
Dr. Carly Dirkheisen. Michael Duncan. Christian Franco. Michelle Guyman.
Aye.
Susan Sands, Monte Magic McKay.
I'm gonna interfere real quick. I think we don't have quorum at this point anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think there's two people that are not in the minute. So at this point, we do not have quorum. So I don't think we can even vote on this, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Isaiah.
Oh, I do see them, but okay.
Okay. Okay. Isaiah Barber.
Aye. My bad. It was taking me a while to unmute. Aye.
No, you're good. Okay. Carol Biondi. No. I'll probably.
While we wait for member Biondi to return to complete the vote, hopefully. We just want to open up also to see if any members of the.
Carol's back.
Okay, sorry. I had to take a phone call there. Tell me again what,
Yes, so this is the name change from the grants and / funding and youth program subcommittee to the community investment and system accountability.
oh, okay, yeah, of course. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. And I'm right now, I'm just having to sign off too, so I'm sorry. I'm glad I got this one in. Terrific work, Carly.
Perfect.
Great job. It'll be an important committee and I'm happy to be part of it. Okay. Thanks very much and see you next time. And yeah,
Bye, Carol.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Let's continue to vote. Kent Mendoza. Dr. T. Coy Porter Senior.
Aye.
Tyreek Ship. Aye. Dr. Mimi Silbert. Dante Williams. All right, it passes. The subcommittee name is changed. The subcommittee name change is approved.
Awesome. All right, one question for the chair, going back to the subcommittees, can members of the public that are here today, virtually or in person, volunteer to be part of subcommittees?
Yes, they can. I mean, these committees are, if there's vacancy, maybe they could reach out to the chair and the co-chair, and then we could go from there. Yeah, because I think we have to, like, for example, if my committee is missing 2 vacancies, we're also trying to target specific people to fill that gap. Right now, one of the things that we're trying to target, we're trying to have a balance in our subcommittee. We want to have some type of victim representation in our committee. We do have Javier Stormy represents Archelian and Justice Network, but we would like to keep a balance, so I guess that's the only thing that will happen. If there is people that are interested, they might not get on the committee like they want to, but there's also ways to keep them involved still somehow.
Thank you
as
so much.
participants. So yes, there is. So
Okay.
if anybody has an interest, maybe just whatever committee it is, maybe just refer them to the chair and let the chair take it from there.
Thank you. And if you're in Zoom, all of the subcommittee, most of the subcommittee chairs are here, and so you can indicate interest if you want to get in touch with one of the chairs via chat. And if they're not here, we can follow up. All right. I think we're ready to move forward with the general public comment.
All right, perfect. So we're about to open the floor for general public comment. When we begin, I'm going to call first for comments by young people in attendance, including members of the Youth Advisory Board. I will then call for comments by members and subcommittee members. Then we will open the floor to the public. Before we do that, we will get a brief reminder about instructions for participants.
Okay, very briefly, if you're joining via Zoom, you can raise your Zoom hand. We'll call on you. If you're joining via phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. If you're in person, you can raise your physical hand. We will keep track of the order. And if your comment is missed, you want to share additional feedback, you can email SACJJDP@chhs.ca.gov. I'll turn it back to you, Tyreek, for public comment.
Thank you. Can I first ask, are there comments from youth in attendance and members of the Youth Advisory Board?
Giving folks a moment. I don't see anything yet, but we'll give them a moment. No comments in chat.
All right. So now I would like to invite members and or subcommittee members to provide public comment as well. Any comment from the members or subcommittee members? All right. Well, the floor is now open for comments from any members of the public. Members of the public will have a maximum of 2 minutes for their comments. So any members of the public would like to give public comment? If not, I will now turn it back to Chairman Dozer for any final announcements and to adjourn the meeting.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Tariq. Yeah, we just say thanks everybody for joining our meeting. Let's stay committed to this committee meeting. This is we miss one meeting, you miss a lot of work. So let's try to be committed to this space. We want everybody to stay engaged, participating. We have a big mission to accomplish in this committee. Our next SACJJDP meeting is gonna be on Wednesday, September 17th. So we have 2 months. So from now to then, I hope every subcommittee is getting some work done, meeting, doing what you're supposed to, because I would love to hear another update from your subcommittee work in the next meeting. And if I could be helpful, let me know. But yes, just want to thank everybody here, presenters, OYCR staff, the public for participating, for being here today, and those that joined virtually, and just the whole entire OYCR staff for just being very supportive in the whole process in this body. And yeah, and then and just want to just a community member, let's just stay committed. Let's show up diligently and communicate. If you cannot make it, I think communication is key. And I would just encourage everybody to just stay in communication with us about whether you can make it or can't make it or be late, just to be sure we could get the work done. That's all. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your week and happy Juneteenth.
All right. Have a great week. Thanks, Chair.
Good job.
Good job.
Good meeting.
Yeah.
Very good.